And I'm very excited to present you guys with Millie Cosme. Millie has just finished the Jumpstart Your Online Tutoring Business Masterclass, and she is our Tutorpreneur Hero winner. And you're going to get to hear about her story, how she got started, how she got her students. And you guys, as she went through this program, she got so many students. You're going to get to hear what worked, what didn't work for her, and you're going to get to hear what her plans are for the future with her business. So keep listening. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Millie. Woo!
Hi,
Hello,
everybody.
Millie.
Hi there.
How's it going today?
It's going good. It's going good. Thank you. I'm blessed.
Good.
I'm grateful.
Oh, I know. It's so amazing when we get to do what we love to do on a daily basis, and without all of the extra stuff that comes with like if we were in a classroom or a school system or something like that. We just get to do what we love to do, be able to help the kids we want to be able to help, get the results that we want to get, and nothing is more rewarding than that. So
Absolutely.
I just want to congratulate you for becoming our Tutorpreneur Hero Award winner. And honestly, I want to know, I'm curious, how did you get started in the world of tutoring?
Well, I homeschooled my kids for 10 years. And then I went from that teacher, principal of one of the schools. Actually, I took my kids to her to test them to make sure they were on level because I did not ever want them to fall from their levels. And she was like, wow, like your kids are testing high up there. So you got skills. And so that's when she was like, I need teachers like you. And I was like, oh, I don't got time. I got, she was like, oh no, we could do this. And I joined her school. I became a teacher there. I was teaching algebra, pre-algebra, Spanish 1, 2, and 3. And it went well. I worked with her for 11 years. She was my mentor. She guided me. She helped me. She developed me. It got to the point though where there was so much other stuff more than just teaching the students.
Yeah.
And it became a little harder and harder and harder. And then it as it felt like all the students weren't getting everything that they needed, I'm like, what? I need to get to them. I need to get to them. So I ended up I ended up leaving, and I was working, at the Ritz or whatever. And then my son was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, I love to teach, but there's a lot of other stuff and I'm being exhausted doing all this other stuff. And he was like, why don't you just tutor? And I was like, I don't know. How do I get students? So and he was like, just I don't want to bring them in my house. I don't want to go to their house. I don't know. And he was like, get a place. I'm like, how do I get a place? And he was like, rent the place. I said, how do I get the money to rent the place? He was like, you get the students. What do I get the students? And then we went on this venture. And we got the place, and it was literally like a 5-minute drive from where I live. And then I went to this, and then we just started going to community events, volunteering for the library fair, the Habitat for Humanity. We got T-shirts, promoting Nurturing Minds tutorial. And little by little, as people started seeing us, they're like, wait, wasn't you at that other event? And then he was like, we should join the Chamber of Commerce. I had no idea what that was. I'm like, what is the Chamber of Commerce? I mean, I've been raising my kids and tutoring my kids. I had no idea the business side of it. He was like, yeah, let's join the Chamber of Commerce. And that's when I started networking. And then I got into the school, and, they hired us to help out. There was a 7th grade teacher that the 7th graders ended up losing the teacher. And 2 months later, they're like, oh my God, the grades are dropping. What are we going to do? I said, well, I kind of teach math. That's my thing. And they were like, oh, could you come in? And so they hired us, and we went in. And at the end of the school year, I bumped into the superintendent at another networking event. And she was like, the scores just got back. My heart fell. And I'm like, okay. She was like, and we did it. We moved the needle. And I'm like, yes. And they hired us every year after that to help out with the students that were on the bottom, to solidify their foundations. And that's where I found where my secret sauce was. Figuring out
Mm.
filling that, what they call now a gap. And I'm like, I always called it, filling that foundation and building from the bottom up. And once we started building up, the kids are like, oh, That's it. Bam. And then they would just zoom
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, that's the difference about like when we're teaching in a classroom, we are teaching to a curriculum, but when we are tutoring, we're teaching on demand and we're finding out like it's kind of like Swiss cheese, right? There are all
Mhm.
these holes. It's not like they don't have anything at the foundation, right? But they've got like these holes of understanding that are quite cleared up and it's causing confusion as they get to the higher level thinking skills that they're required to do. So yeah, it's really filling, like you said, those gaps, building a strong foundation and making this really work. I want
And
to welcome some of the people I've seen coming on in here. I see we've got Valerie who has come on in and Anand. Thank you guys so much for joining us in here to celebrate with us Millie's wonderful success of becoming our Tutorpreneur Hero Award winner. She was just sharing with us real quick just all about her journey and how she became a tutor and some of the we're going to kind of dive into like what were some of the early challenges that you faced as you were starting your business, Millie?
Well, at first it was like where do I begin? Because I was a home tutoring mom for so many years. And I'm like, okay, I was teaching in a school, but now where do I get my kids from? How do I get the kids? And then we just went on a kind of, I guess you would call it a campaign, but my son was like, what resonates with you? I said, I'm all about community. He was like, I know that. So let's go out into the community. Let's go to church events, school events, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so let's say Habitat for Humanity had a run. I was like, I called them up. I said, can I bring water? And they're like, absolutely. So I wear my shirt, bring my water, yay, cheer everybody on. And then I even had some of my staff go ahead and run in the race, and we sponsored them to help build money, raise money for the Habitat for Humanity. And then people were like,
Uh,
wow, that made me a little bit different than everybody else who was tutoring. And then I got one student, two student, three student, and it was building, it was growing. And then when we were in the school and we went to other events, one of the colleges here was like, hey, we have a educational program. Can they go to Nurturing Minds tutorial to get their internship hours? And I was like, absolutely. I would love to teach teachers how to teach, because that's, I think, where the burnout goes. If you get somebody new and you throw them in a class with 32 students, they're like, ah, and then they're like, oh, I'm out of here. I can make more money here. And I'm like, no, we need teachers. So we started developing the students. So when we got a crew, the first crew was like 25 educational college students. Out of that 25, we got 5 really good ones, because while we're training, we could see who's really got the passion, who's really got the knack, who's picking up, who's able, because some people are stuck in their ways, but who's able to switch teaching styles.
yeah,
So they might shadow me, then they'll shadow Miss Ann, then they'll shadow Miss Brittany, so that they can learn the different teaching styles, because every child learns differently. And so when you
mhm.
get, like you said, that Swiss cheese, the way this one fills those holes, it's going to be different from the way that one fills the holes. And so that's how we, and I'm teaching them how to do that, teaching them how to build their relationships, because I'm very motherly everywhere I work. They call me Mama Millie, and I'm able to connect with the students like they're my own kids. And I have a little discipline side, but I got the fun side too. And so they get both sides. And when you connect, because it's important to connect with students. And it's so
Yeah,
much easier to connect when you're one-on-one, or even in a small group, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, than when you're in 1-on-30. Then it comes
yeah,
more about controlling your classroom than it is attending to the needs. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. And you said you started your business in 2016, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then when did you discover on your journey the Jumpstart, your online tutoring business masterclass?
Well, my son, and at the time, another young lady came on. They were like, "Oh, you got a knack for this teaching thing." Because I was like, I said, I'm tutoring, but I'm a teacher, so I'm not just going to help with homework. I'm going to teach them the skills so they can do their own homework. And that started building. And then I'm like, so they helped me. They helped me build it all the way up to 2018. And I could tell they were ready, because, I have grown kids now, and they were ready to move on with their life. And I didn't want to hold them down to my dream. And I was
Yeah.
like, and I gave them the walking papers. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Don't worry, I got this. And then when they left, I was like, oh my God, how do I do this? So I was trying to figure it out. And to be honest, like they were the driving force. And I was so caught up in teaching what they say. I was so busy working in my business, I didn't work on my business. So when they
Yeah.
left, I had to learn how to work on my business. And I'm like, oh, how do I do the books, and how do I do the scheduling, and how do I do the this and that? Because I'm the teaching I had, the teaching teachers, the helping adults get their certifications. I had all of that. But now it was the business side of it. And I was like, and I was figuring it out. And I was scared
Mhm.
because I went all the way up, and then my husband got sick, and then I started going down, and then he
Mm.
passed away, and and all that emotions and everything. I was married for
Mhm.
34 years, so everything went down, and I'm like, I got to get it back up, and I didn't know how to revive it, and I struggled, and I tried to get the word out, and I was really like struggling. Uh, then it started picking up a little bit, and then the pandemic hit. Then it went kind of plateaued. Thank God that they gave out, the unemployment for the people who were doing their own self-employed, and that's what kept me through. And then I got a grant, so I'm like, okay, we got this. And a lot of people were having trouble with the Zoom and all of that. And as I was going lateral, and then after that was over, it was trying to build up, and I was coming down, and then it up and downs, and it got to the point where I was like, I blew through all my savings. I blew through everything that I had. I had nothing left. And I'm like, what am I going to do
Mm.
now? And I'm like, oh, do I go back to the Ritz? Do I go work at Walmart? I didn't feel like that was going to feed my soul. I'm like, so many kids need this help. What am I going to do? And I started honestly praying on it and focusing on it and sending energies. And you ended up in my mailbox. Hey, we got this Impact 5, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what is this? And there's something in my head said, to get somewhere you've never been, you got to do something you've never done. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then you said you had this thing, well, for the VIP, you can keep. And I'm like, I could take notes. And then something said, are you ever going to keep up with everybody's talking? I'm like, nope, I bought the VIP. That Impact 4 mindset, working together, lighting when you're doing things, putting yourself out there, social media. There was so many points. My mind went, I'm like, what is this? And then from there, it was like one of the last days of the Impact. It was like Jumpstart. You will get you will get this, we'll guide you through this, guide you through that. And I'm like, this is what I need, because I depended on them doing it. Now I need to know how to do it myself.
Yeah.
When I went through Jumpstart, the first thing was my mindset. Imposter syndrome, poverty mind thinking, self-doubt, all of that was in here. The teacher guild, everything was all up in here. And I'm trying to grow, but I couldn't because it was stifling me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
once I got that mindset, and then I got the self-talk, and then I started immersing myself in Jumpstart, and it was one thing after another. And anyone that knows me know I fangirl over my kids all day, all night. If they have something going on, I'm there because they're grown. So any chance I get to see them and see I'm there. I'm already there. Well, my daughter had an event, and I had something I had to complete for Jumpstart. And I'm about doing the deadlines and being committed and getting it done. And I was like, my grandkids were leaving out the door. They're like, Grandma, you coming? We get ready to leave. I'm like, I got homework. They're like, you got homework? And I'm like, yeah, I got homework. And when they went to the event, they're like, Grandma got homework. But it was the best thing, because doing and applying myself with the steps of Jumpstart. And I'll be honest, it wasn't easy. It was not easy. But y'all gave me the accountability partners. Y'all held me accountable. Y'all, and I need that. And I'm a
Yeah.
perfectionist. And the key thing, and I want everybody out there to know, done is better than perfect. And anybody that knows me know I like everything in a sheet, Excel sheet. I want everything in done, a spreadsheet and numbers, and that's me. And then I'm like, it never gets done. And so now I told people that know me, I said, I'll build another website. They're like, you built a website? Miss, I don't know anything about tech. I'm like, yeah. And I also got social media. I started a YouTube. They're like, you started a YouTube channel? I'm like, yeah. I learned so much and my mindset changed. And now I am impacting students even better because I got more of me to give. Once
Yeah.
I'm able to feed myself, I can give them more. And now they're scaling and they're moving and they're like, oh, this is great. And I'm telling the parents, I'm like, well, he don't need to come twice a week anymore. They're like, but we'll come every other week because they caught up, but we want to keep them up. Because that's what I say. Once they catch up, school is still moving. So you don't want
Yeah.
to catch up, stop, and then school keeps moving. Then you got to catch up, stop, and catch up. Keep it going. Be consistent.
Yes.
And as I was telling them to be consistent, you were telling me to be consistent. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was consistent. And all the disciplines and everything. And now, our motto is securing our future one mind at a time. I pride myself in that. I feel good about that. When I'm dead and gone, whether it be tomorrow, 3 days from now, 5 days, 5 years, who knows? Whenever I'm gone, I know that I made an impact in our future by helping our students. And it doesn't matter whether they're kindergarten or they're a teacher trying to get their GACE, because we've helped teachers get their GACE and we've helped nurses get their T's. Right now, I helped somebody pass their ADVAB at a higher level, and now they told somebody, and now we're working with him so he could pass at a bigger level. And all it is filling those gaps, because even grown-ups have those gaps.
Oh yeah, we all do. Like when it comes to learning and knowing something, or even taking a look at a new tool or a new resource to be able to use, there are those gaps and how to use it and how can I use it for what I need to be able to use it for. And but we're able to easily fill those gaps. It doesn't have to become a stumbling block and I'm never going to figure it out, right? We can say, no, I can figure it out one small step at a time. I don't have to figure it all out today.
And that's what that's what the whole community, and that's one thing that's so beautiful about our community, our tutoring community. You really go out and you really help, and everybody in there really helps. I got stuck somewhere and they're like, hey, try this. I'm like, oh my God, that was so easy. Thank you. And it's that same aha that I give the kids. And when you have a community, back in the day, they said, it takes a community to raise a child, it's just not one-on-one. And I have an inner child and the community has helped me. And now I'm going to reach out my hand and say, what can I do to help you? I want to help whoever I can. That's my mother, the mother in me. Bless her soul. She always wanted to help people. She loved people unconditionally. And that's me. And I'm like a hugger. I'm like, yay, and a rah, and a cheerer. And I feel it being reciprocated. And there's no greater reward than that. And so now I could give more of me to the students. And now I could look at reading the book, Change Your Question, Change Your Answers. Now when I'm dealing with students, instead of be like, what's the problem? I could be like, why do you think that's a problem? That puts them in a whole mindset. They're like, I just don't know. Now they're like, well, this is confusing. Why is it confusing? Let me explain this. And they're like, oh, I get it now.
Yep.
Whereas before they had their guard up, because I tutor, middle 5, 6, 7, 8. And so them preteens and them teenagers got their guard up. They ready for a fight.
Yeah.
That's not necessary. Why do you think you answer it like that? Why do you think you making all this, not paying attention? Why do you think you're struggling with this? And then when they get to explain it, then you can see what's missing. And because I've been doing this for so many years, a little bit more than 25 years, I'm like, you're missing the divisibility rules. You're missing the factoring. You got the multiple, but you didn't get the factor. What's the difference? Do you know the difference?
Yeah.
Let me explain it to you. Even the kids sometimes, the adverb and the adjective. What's the difference? Adverb gives you a hint. And they're like, oh, I get it now. Something simple as teaching a kid, the boy went out the door. B. And if you put boy went out the door, and they're like, oh. And parents be like, I never seen that. Somebody taught it to me, and now I'm teaching it to you.
Yeah.
So many different ways, so many things. And right now, a lot of students need help. They don't need,
Yeah.
like, they're not passing, but it's not their fault. All we need to do is
Right.
fill in the gaps.
Yep, exactly. And they have less and less of an attention span to be sitting in a classroom. I mean, with all of the social media too, it's just like it's scrolling, it's going fast, it's really keeping their attention, right? But in the classroom, it's like I have to sit there all day long and I have to listen to a teacher talk to me in front of a room. And when that is happening, we are losing our learners because they're so passive inside of the classroom. You know, they don't have enough opportunities to be active. But when they are in the tutoring sessions with us, they have that ability
Absolutely.
to be actively learning with us and thinking and going through the process, and that definitely really helps. So when you first joined Jumpstart, what were the expectations that you had, and how did the actual experience compare?
Well, and to be totally honest, I started with Impact 3, and nothing speaking bad about anybody of that, but my mind was in a different state. My mom was in hospice, and I was trying to do Impact 3 because it all happened suddenly. So I was like, I'm not gonna not attend this. This is gonna help me because I prayed on it. But I really, my mind was somewhere else, and so I attended, and I'm like, yeah, this is okay. So when I saw Impact 4, I'm like, I already went to that. And then that's when I got that word, you got to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I went into Jumpstart because Impact had me, what we call in our community, Big Mo. My momentum was starting to pick up. I was literally 2 weeks before I joined Impact for almost crying, thinking I was going to join. I was going to have to go back to the Ritz or go to Walmart. And I was
Mm,
literally like, what? I have nothing left. I have to have an income. I literally went to some of those online tutoring platforms, and they're like, oh, good, you're good. Oh, okay, you're good. And I didn't get students. I'm like, you were supposed to flood students to me. I got all the skill. Where are the people? I'm like, I got to pay my bills. And I'm looking at my watch.
yeah.
What's going on? And then I finally got 2 students. And then it just started, my business was starting to pick back up because my mindset had changed. And I'm like, I tutored 2 students here and got kibbles and bits paid. Like, we're talking about $15 an hour. And then I got a new person that called in. They're like, I want to book my kid 2 days a week, which was a lot more than $15 an hour. And I'm like, what am I doing here? So I like, forget y'all. I have to do it for myself because I can get this done.
Right.
And that's when it started rolling. So once I started Impact 4, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it was my mindset starting to change. And then I said, Jumpstart, okay, they're going to teach me how to get students. They're going to teach me how to advertise. They're going to teach me, they're not going to be able to teach me how to tutor. I know how to do that, but they might teach me. And honestly, I was thinking, I'll learn some business stuff. That's all I thought. I'm going to learn some business stuff. When I got in there, I was like, oh, we got to read what? We got to do what? I got to make a flyer. I never made a flyer. And I was like, oh my God, Canva who? What? And I'm like, am I going to do it or am I going to punk out? That's what I said to myself. You going to do it or you going to punk out? I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do it. And as I was doing, I'm like, oh, look at the flyer I created. Oh, this website's a little wonky, but in the community, like, why don't you try this? Did you try that? Hey, ChatGPT. I said, oh, AI, stay away from that, replacing humans. And then I'm like, oh, because see, it took my words and elevated them. It all depends on how
Yeah.
you use it, how you prompt it. And I'm like, I learned, I can't even, and I'm still learning. I'm going back to
Yeah.
some of the tips and relearning some of the stuff. Like, it was so much in that 10 weeks and it was rolling. There was 1 week, 2 weeks, I think, in a row where I was like, I don't think I'm going to make the whole checklist this week. This SEO was like, I was stuck on that. And then you told me done is better than perfect. And I'm like, check. Check. And then another thing that relieved me was you saying, you can always fix it. Like, you get it out there, it's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Improve it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's easy. Because now I
Yeah.
know what I didn't know then. And I'm to this day, I'm still improving that website. So I'm like, yeah. And I'm like along for the
Yeah.
ride. Now I'm back on track, back on Big Mo. And one day I didn't hit that
Yes.
top. I was on the leaderboard, but I wasn't on top. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I am not a C student. I am an A student. Thank you. Get up there, get it together. And my daughter was walking by, just like, are you okay? And I'm like reading and writing and organizing. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know where it was coming from, but like 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, bing. I'm like, why am I up? I know, because I'm thinking about that fly. I gotta do another fly, or I gotta read pages, and the compound effect. And there's one more thing I gotta do to get off my checklist. And I'm like, thinking I'm not going to function the next day because I didn't get no sleep, but I had so much energy and I felt so good and it was so complete, and the support from the community. And to be honest, you're the leader and you encompass everything about a leader. A leader shows through example, not a boss. Because that's why one time one of my staff said, "Oh, you're a great boss." I said, well, "I'm not a boss. I don't boss nobody. I lead by
Mm-hmm.
example." So I wouldn't ask you to do nothing that I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And anything you need to learn how to do, if I know, I will help you. So I call myself a leader. And you're a great leader because I'm going to be honest. I'm like, Joanne Comiskey's up here. I'm kind of down here. She answered
No.
my email right away. She answered my text. I'm like, this is a person.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think he was a person, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we're communicating. You really
Yeah.
felt valued. I felt like you really cared about me. When I had my
Yeah.
accountability partners, I felt like Katrina really cared about me. When we did our group discussions, I'm like, you know what? I care about you too. Hey, try this. Hey, try that. I love family. Anybody will tell you. There's so many people I call family, and blood doesn't make you family. And sometimes blood, you're not family. But at the end of the day, I love family. And I felt part of something. And that
Yes.
something wasn't just something. It was helping me, and it was allowing me. When you give, you get so much more in return. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of person I am. And I'm like, this is feeding my soul. And I started in the beginning, I was like, how many students did you get week 1? I'm like, nothing. Say week 2. Huh, I got 1. Yay. Okay. Week 2, 2. Week 3, 3. Week 5, 1. Week 6, none. Week 7, 3. I'm like, whoa, how is this happening? And somebody literally told me, like, I was like, how did you hear from me? Because I have to start asking that question. Is
Yeah.
I learned so much from Jumpstart, so many things that put me on a different professional level that people who know me, like, wow, look at you. I'm like, yeah, look at me. But I was like, how did you hear from me? And they're like, oh yeah, somebody mentioned you in the private school chat. I don't know if I'm allowed to say school names or people names. That's why I try to avoid, 'cause I don't know.
Sure.
But in the private school, yeah, you were on the chat. I'm like, I'm in the chat? They're like, yeah. Or so-and-so, you taught her student 5 years ago and she's still doing good to this day. So I'm like, you got to be good. And I'm like, wow. But it was my mindset that I opened myself up because I was so guarded and oh my God, I was concentrating so much about what I didn't have that I forgot
Yeah.
to focus on what I did have and what I can.
Yeah.
Because in this world of abundance, there's so much out there. There are so many kids out there that need our help.
Yes.
And there's so many right now. I'm looking at a couple of teachers and they're like, I don't know if I can hang on 2 more years. I retired 2 more years. I don't know if I can hang on. And they're like, one was gone for a week. I'm like, you okay? She was like, I just needed a break. I'm like,
Yeah. The mental health. Yeah.
and that's a problem. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tutoring a student now, and they're going to school, and she did go with her math, and she told me she failed her math test. I said, oh my God, and I'm thinking it's something I did. I said, well, did you not get it? She said, I got it, but the class was so noisy and rambunctious, and the teacher can't control them, and I couldn't listen, and I couldn't. I said, okay, calm down. Ask your guidance counselor, your principal, your assistant. Ask them if you could bring in noise canceling headphones. So the next time that happens, let them run amok, but you focus on what you got to do, because this is you're coming to the end of your 8th grade. You getting ready to go to high school. You need your numbers to be right in your transcript and correct, so ask about, and they gave a permission to use those noise canceling headphones. I'm sorry everything is going crazy, but in the midst of crazy, and we're in real life, we live crazy. And we still got to get our jobs done as mothers, as teachers, as sisters, as brothers, just as friends, as loved ones. We got to keep stuff going, and stuff happens. You can't stop it. But the mindset, how you can't, and I read this over and over, and I'm always reposting. You can't control what people say or do, but you can control how you react.
Yes.
And I teach my grandkids. It's like, okay, they said that. You know what you could say? Whatever. Now what? She called me ugly. Whatever. Are you ugly? No. Whatever. Sometimes you got to keep it moving, keep it going forward. And then now the ball's in, it's no longer in your court. You got rid of the ball. You let them keep moving forward.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's such an important part. It's interesting. Like, I don't think that a lot of people would think about that. One of the most important secrets for you when it came to getting students was changing your mindset. What kinds of thoughts were going through your head about getting students before that you think were keeping you stuck?
I think because I was focusing more on, oh my God, I'm losing people because they got it. Now what I'm going to do if I lose everybody that gets it, as opposed to now saying, I'm so glad they got it. Teach your friend how to do it. I teach you, now you go teach your friend. You become the popular one that knows how to do that knows how to factor out an equation. You do that for me, because I can't reach everybody, and everybody can't afford me. And that's it. That's what changed. Went from, oh my God, another week, my cash flow is down to $1,000. But my bills nurture my bills at the end of the week is $1,200. How am I gonna? I don't know. Oh my God, And I was so caught up in that. And then once I'm like, oh, it's gonna work out, because what I'm doing is for the greater good. Yeah. And then before you know it, I don't know what opened up in the universe. They started calling and coming, and I'm like, and then I started telling other tutors, I'm like, do community. I have been in Jumpstart, because some of them be like, I've been in Jumpstart 5 weeks. I ain't got one yet. Have you tried a community event? Get a t-shirt. I can't afford a t-shirt. T-shirts. I'm like, listen, I know that if you want to order 12, how much you have to pay. But if you order one, it might be $20. Would $20 be, is it worth it?
Right.
Because that's how we started. We started buying them one at a time. And I'm like, I got to spend $60 as opposed to 120 for a dozen. $60 for 3, that's a lot. But there was 3 of us, and we did it, and we went to a community event with what you call it, cards, business cards.
Business cards.
People, pro and con on business cards. That's how we did it. I still got business cards because I ordered it's cheaper if I get 1,000.
I know.
And so now I'm like, I don't even know what to do with these cards. I'm trying to do them out, but it's a different mindset. So now I'm like, hey, this is me. And now, I was always shying away from social media. Anybody that followed me on social media was like, this girl never posts. Like, why am I here? The only people that are there are the people that know me and like me, And now I'm like, hey, how about this? And then just also reciprocating. Like, you know what? That's a nice thing you just did. I admire you for that. That's a good idea. Can I steal that? Now they know, like, wow, this person is a person, like not just a name and a picture,
Exactly.
And I like that in Jumpstart, because I was so like camera shy. If you see my first interview from the newspaper, my son is doing all the talking. I'm like, in the interview, I'm just nodding my head when I look at that nowadays, and I'm like, oh my God. They're like, what is this? One of those dogs in the back of the car that do like
oh yeah, like the little bobbleheads.
But being able to be comfortable enough, and that it all deals with the mindset. And I learned all about mindset at Nurturing Minds. At Nurturing Minds at the Jumpstart. And I'm like, I tapped into that, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is me. And some of y'all may not like it, but whatever.
Yeah, and it works. It works.
Because then at
So
the end of the day, it's all about the students and getting them where they got to be.
when you began asking people, how did they say that they found out about you?
Some people, and and this is something I'm very proud of. I asked a lady, one of my newer students, and I'm like, "What did you hear about me?" She said, "Actually, I Googled you because I got a couple of comments from you." And I'm like, "Okay." And she was like, "And you know what? It was between you and 3 others." I was like, "Okay, what made the difference?" She
Yes.
says, "You got a few you got mostly 5 stars, and they got mostly 5 stars, but then the one that you got 2 stars, I love the way you reacted." The person came in anonymous, so I don't know who it was. I have my suspicions, and they were like, "Yeah, you promise, under deliver, whatever." And I was like, "I am sorry that you feel that way. We want to always progress forward, especially when it comes to the students learning. Please give us a call." And I'll put my number out there. I'm like, "This, please give us a call. Let's talk about it." And if I can remedy this, I was willing. If they would have called me, I'm like, "You got 2 free tutorials for me to turn this around." But they never called. They never said who they were. They never even coming back. And I was like, and I was telling, I was like, "You looked at my bad comment?" And she was like, "Yeah," because I looked at the other people's bad comment. They're like, "Yeah, but you blah, blah, blah. Yeah. If you would just blah, blah, blah." You didn't go that way. You were very happy about it. It seemed to me like you sincerely wanted to rectify the situation, because sometimes we just misunderstand each other.
Right.
Like, you get me, because I don't want nobody to
Yes.
misinterpret anything. And if I tutor a child and I found out they failed something, I feel bad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, what, did you apply yourself? Did you not understand?" So now I get in the habit of asking, "Did you learn something from this? Is it a little clearer to you? Because you may not know all the answers, but in this 1 hour, you should have gotten something." And,
Yeah.
and now that's what ever since that comment, I'm like, "Do you feel you get something? How do you feel
Yeah.
about it? Are you feeling better about it? Are you still a little confused? Because maybe we can clear it up." And what I'll do is I'll go to the parent. I was like, "Well, they were, we went over blah, 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 and they still seem a little confused. So I'm going to send you a paper. You don't have to correct it. Just have them, not today, but sometime this week before his next time coming in, have him read it, do it, or whatever. Take a picture of it, and we will grade it. And at least we'll know where the problem is. And we'll prepare." It helps us to prepare for the next tutoring, because some kids can only come once a week or twice a week, every other week, and you want to fill in those gaps. So now I'm like, "Listen, I know I tutor math, but I bought Read Theory for all my clients. So here, you got a free thing to Read Theory to help them develop their reading, because that's another problem with students. That's not my forte, but I know it's a problem." And so some parents are like, "Oh my God, give me the login. It's free. Go. I bought it already."
Yeah.
And I want to give that. I want to be able to show that you got value here. There's
Yeah.
value here. And all the people's like, "Oh, that's kind of steep, your price." This is value here. We're
Right.
communicating. I'm giving whatever you need. I'm going to give you. I'm going to guide you. And your child is going to do better. And one thing I tell people, I say, "What's different? What makes us different? We provide results."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, did you end up, as you went through the course, did you end up raising your rates?
Yeah. I shouldn't be
Yay.
embarrassed about that, because I was down shooting myself for a long time.
Yeah.
I was so dirt cheap. That's how I ended up blowing through all my savings and everything, because I wasn't charging enough, because the area I'm in is a lower demographic financially, and I was trying to
Yeah.
meet them and understand them. But then I have to pay my bills. I have to pay, the accountant. I have to pay the
Yeah.
everything. There's so many things on the backside of the tutoring that we have to pay. And I'm like, I was coming out of my pocket, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and my kids were like, "That's it? That's all you're charging?" Like if you was a high schooler or a
Yeah.
college student. "Mommy, you have 20 years, 25 years experience. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Ask so how much she charges, and she hasn't even been teaching as long as you. And I'm like, "Oh," and then that whole mindset. And when you say raise your price, I'm like, I lost some people, but at the end of the day, the ones that I have, they're gonna get where they need to go. And then the people that are like, I understand because they see the value.
Yeah.
And I know that I have value and I know that we can produce results.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I know you had mentioned that you were making $15 an hour when you were working for another tutoring company. And then before Jumpstart, what were you charging?
25.
Oh,
No, actually, no,
wow.
I just raised my price to 40.
Okay, so it went from 25 to
I
40, and
No,
then now what are you
it went from
charging?
25 to 30 to 35 to 40. I was
Okay.
taking those little jumps and I was losing people. And then when they said, what are you doing? I mean, I literally went to an accountant. I'm like, we're getting ready to drown. He looked at my books and he was like, you are going to drown. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you're not charging enough for everything that you got to put out. What are you doing? And I'm like, but every time I up my prices, people leave. And then he made it this way. He said, if you charge $10 more and lose half your people, you're still ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I'm like, I did the math and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so that's when I was at the 40. And then I was like, okay. So I went to the 50. And now, I raised my price to, a little bit more compensatable. And people are coming. And,
Yeah.
and since Jumpstart, I still when y'all did the tally on Jumpstart, I had got 2 more people that same day. And since then I've gotten like 6 more. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
whether you come in every day or once every other week, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm going to treat you with respect and I'm going to give your kid what they need. And hopefully you'll tell your friend.
Yep.
And I tell the kids, show this to your friend. How? Where'd you learn that? You should go to. I had one of the kids said, "Can I keep your pencil? Because I got a pencils that have nurturing minds." And he's like, "Can I keep your pencil? I need to show my mom where we need to go. I like your classes because I
Aww.
help out in the schools.
Sure, sure.
So,
I love it. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Where do you think those 6 that came in since Jumpstart came from?
one said that they came from. I had like a little billboard,
Mhm.
and 2 came from referrals, and those to me are the best because I know how good we are. And now the parents are telling you how good we are. One came back because I helped her daughter 5 years ago, and she's been on the rise ever since. Her daughter is in high school now, still blowing it out of the water. Like once the kids get that foundation, it's not a loss. Somebody
Yeah.
else is going to come your way, but it's a plus. She hasn't
Yeah.
needed me in 4.5 years because I helped her for like 6 months. And now
Yeah.
she's a little sister. And the mother's like, she's going with you. What do you charge now? She's going with you because your kids, all you homeschool your kids, and the last 2 graduated valedictorian, and they both graduated at
Aw.
16. And I'm like, thank you.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. I mean, and really that's what it comes down to. I mean, there are just so many strategies that you learn inside of the program, but over time, because you're putting so much out there, more people are beginning to referral. You're building that referral engine because this is a very big referral position. And so when people come to you from a referral, you don't really have to sell them. Or when people come from online and you've built your website and designed it correctly, then you don't have to worry about people coming to you and being like, oh, you charge too much. Because they see the value already when they come to you and they've done the research. The more they can find out about you online, the better, because they're all going to research you online. And so to hear that they find you online, to hear that they're now, referring you to other people, that is such a gift. Now, networking and community building are 2 huge big pieces that we really focus on. How did networking or community engagement play a role in getting new students during the program?
Well, one of the things that changed for me, especially with the networking, is, and I'm gonna be honest, when I first started Jumpstart, I'm like, oh, I don't want to connect with her. She's doing math. I'm doing math. That's my competition. I'm not connected well. Oh, she's doing English. Okay, come on over because I'm doing math. You're doing English. We can swap. But within the community, I realized it's not a competition. It's a collaboration. So
Right.
it's like, oh, okay. I don't have to be threatened because I know what I do. You can't do what I do because I'm me. But then you have your qualities too. So it doesn't matter
Right.
if we're both tutoring 6th graders. You have your ways and I have my ways. I have
Yeah.
a few ways because I've been doing it for quite some time. I have different teaching styles that I can swap in a minute. But at the end of the day, I can't teach everybody. I wish I could, but I can't. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, there's so many. Everybody needs help. One of the biggest things that I had was my teacher guilt, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna leave these kids. I love the kids and I've built a rapport, but how many more kids are out there that need help? Because at the end of the day, I got to pay my mortgage.
Yes.
you know, and the more I get, the more I can give them. Like right now,
Right.
I was able to move away from Zoom and go into Koala Go. What is Koala Go? Oh my God. It's a platform made for teachers with students in mind. And now my students are like, oh, am I doing you online? And so we've already made that transition. This was the last week that we're doing in person. We're just going totally online.
Oh,
And
yay.
is I have family in New York. We're like, hey, I know somebody's kid. Yeah, I can do somebody from New York. I could do somebody from California. I got two students in Texas. I'm like, wow, like this is good. And it's
Yes.
not where they come from, because some of them are, because I know right now a family member, they're like, I know my baby's only 2, but as soon as he becomes 4, because I know you start about 4, we're coming to you. And I'm like, cool, because they know what they're gonna get,
Yeah.
you know, and building. And the good thing is too, when you learn that community and that network, I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
so and so, you teach. See, the kids that I taught math, I teach up to algebra. Now their parents are calling me, oh, he's in pre-cal, or she's in algebra too. I'm like, oh, that's a little. He's in geometry. I said, high school geometry, because I could do 7th grade geometry. They're like, in high school, that's a little bit past. I want to be able to be confident enough that not I'm going to study it tonight and I know I can get it. No, it needs to be like this. And so I'm like, wait a minute. In the community, I know Max, he teaches calculus, AP calculus, and so she teaches, SAT prep and ACT prep. I could teach it, but that's her niche. Let me send them to her, because at the end of the day, I want my students to get the best. So when a parent is
Yes.
like, I want my student to go to you, I said,
Yeah.
reading, I can teach them reading, but they would do so much better with Brittany.
Yep.
I want them to get the best. When it comes to math, I feel I'm the best. But when it comes to reading, I'm good, but I want them to get the best. My
Yeah.
own grandkids, when they do reading, I send them to Anne and Brittany. Math,
Yes.
I take them.
Yeah.
That's just cute. My daughter, I was like, I don't have time. She was like, oh no, I'm enrolling them in Nurture Mind. So my grandkids come to my center to study with,
Oh.
teacher. Well, now they're doing it online, which they love, you know,
Oh.
and people
I
that are
love it.
hesitant, because my own daughter was like, ooh, online, because I said, and I said, give it a shot,
Yeah.
and question your child, see if they learn something. And so now she's comfortable. She's like, you got this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, why would you want to drive? Like, and I always think about this too. Like, why would you want to drive for 30 minutes, even if it's only 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back? Like, why would you want to take that time out of your day if you didn't have to? Like, parents are already in their cars so much throughout the day that, this could cut down on that time so that they can spend more time with them doing other things, right? And I think it's important to realize that one-on-one online is so different than the virtual teaching that they did, the virtual classrooms that they
So
did
different.
back during the pandemic. It's not the same thing. It's
Absolutely.
it's like the difference between active and passive learning, right?
Mhm.
They were passive learners because they're watching the screen. They might not even been watching the screen. They might have turned off their camera. They might have been
Mhm.
watching TV. Who knows what was happening, right? But when I have a session with somebody online, I can see them, the camera is on, we're doing the work, they have to participate, they're going back, it's a back and
Yep,
forth, it's not a sit and get session. So it's active learning at its best. And that's really the biggest difference, and that's why the online is so effective, is because we can still do the best. The I feel like there's so many more tools that are at our fingertips that we can
absolutely.
access to be able to help our kiddos, and it's amazing. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. I want to know from you, Millie, what is some advice that you would give to other tutors who, maybe they're newer in the industry, they're thinking about starting online tutoring, um, or even those that have more of an established business, but they've never done anything like Jumpstart, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, to be totally honest, um, um, I say I went through the scrapes and the bruises getting to here. Why should you do that? Go ahead.
Right.
And if you're hesitant, go through impact, because
Yeah.
you will probably go to Jumpstart after impact if
Yeah.
you get anything out of it. When you get, because there's so much out there that we don't know. When you told me about Koala Go, I wrote that name down. I'm like, what's Koala Go? It's the best thing ever. When you told me about ChatGPT, I'm like, AI. And then you gave a lesson on it. You're like, oh, because I'm stuck trying to figure out the words and not be repetitive. And I'm like, oh, that was so put it eloquently. Aim to a parent that's really frustrated. And the prompts are so important. And because when I first got AI, when you first saw ChatGPT, I was just, oh, that's kind of cute, but I'm going to add to it. But when you prompt it a certain way, you're like, oh. So I would say if you're either struggling to get on, and anyone who hasn't got a student yet, I promise you, you put in the work, it's going to happen. And we read the compound effect as part of Jumpstart, and it's little steps, but you have to be consistent. And
Hmm.
then over a matter of time, before you know, you blink your eye, you're like, oh, because at first I didn't get student for week 1, week 2, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and before you know it, I had 12, then I had 15. I'm like, oh wow, this is happening. You know,
Yes.
it can
Yes.
happen.
And it's so exciting when it happens. And that's why, you guys, at the next Impact 5, it is called the Get More Students Summit. People are going to learn all the different strategies. They're going to be learning about branding, and they're going to learn about offline strategies and online strategies. And you're one of our amazing speakers who's going to be coming on, and you're going to be sharing about how do I offline build connections with people through the community. And I'm really excited to have you share all about that and what your experience was. So, oh my gosh, so exciting. I i am so excited for you and the success that you're having inside of your business. I know how bad you wanted this when you did Impact. I could feel it.
Mhm.
Like, your energy at Impact was so amazing. And I think it was so like unbelievable. It was like, yes, this is exactly who I want to serve. I want to help tutors just like this, who they have the fire, they have the energy, and they just need help, navigating their way around this so that they can have success inside of their business. And you also have a team of tutors that you have, and you want to continue to get them more students for your business. It's like, we really have to learn this art of getting new students so that we can reach those financial goals that we want to be
Mhm.
able to reach. And while it is a beautiful thing to charge lower prices so more people can afford us, that has to come from a place of abundance, not poverty. Like,
Mhm.
if I want to do that, I should have, like, you know 9 out of my 10 spots maybe are the higher paying clients, and then I have a scholarship for one of the students so that I am still able to serve some of that population. But if I come at it, what I'm going to charge less, that I am going to be so burnt out and broke. I'm not going to
Mhm.
have anything to be able to give the students, right? And
Absolutely.
and and that's not helpful. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Millie is now a leader for our Insider Secrets Club 3.0 that you'll learn more about. We're not opening the doors yet until Impact, but you get to learn more about this amazing community, and how we help other teachers with being able to get students for their online tutoring business so they can get more students, get found, and even begin earning recurring passive income. Because at the end of the day, when our cup is full, when it's full of all the good things, we have enough money, we have enough time, we have all these things, we are able to work so much more efficiently and with
Mhm.
excitement and with enthusiasm and with passion, instead of that burnt out feeling, like, and that woe is me feeling. You guys can all do this. It's just a matter of being taught the skills and strategies. So thanks, you
Mhm.
guys, for joining us today to share in Millie's exciting day where she was able to get her Tutorpreneur Hero Award winner for getting over over 12 students when she was in the program, and those students keep coming and coming. Enjoy the rest of your day, you guys, and thanks for joining us.